This is so weird though.
I
Like, I
know.
just did this last night when I was on this computer, and I don't understand why it's not in this list. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. Um, anyway, I'm Jessica, not Matt.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't understand why this is. Let me see if I can find it in. I
Oh,
don't see it
wow.
listed.
No, I'm totally flummoxed too, Jessica. I don't know. I don't know either.
You know what I'm flummoxed by?
Mm.
Crocheting.
Oh, segue.
That's
Are you a podcast host? That was good.
oh, truly, yeah. I am. I'm really, really good at threading the needle here when it comes to segues. But you know what I am good at? Knitting somehow. I don't know why or how, but
Do you seriously knit? What do you knit?
okay, listen. You guys can help me feel either more or less self-conscious about this, but the only thing I'm able to do, and I tell you, I have made blankets and scarves and headscarves and hats and coasters. But my method is I use the circular loom with the pegs and I do that stuff, with the little thing. It's fun.
Literally, that's how I knit, and my practice is knitting based, and I
Great.
only knit on looms. So,
All right.
Jeff, I was gonna say, like, when you're like, I'm really good at threading needles in conversation, like, that's all it takes to be in Fiber Club. That's it.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have to thread anything real. Like,
yeah.
you can just thread imagination, creativity, community.
That-
Like, you don't even have to like
Gosh, is this recording? This is golden.
That's why I laid the pun groundwork there for you about threading needles there.
Good.
For sure. Everyone at home, thanks for tuning in. This is, of course, A Little Too Quiet. It is the Ferndale Library Podcast brought to you by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. And I'm Jeff, which you know because I'm here for every episode. But today, I'm joined by Katie Schulman. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Jeff.
And even though your Zoom window may not say that, I'm going to trust you. And Jessica Peruke.
Hello.
You guys are from Fiber Club Detroit. Fiber Club, FIBRE CLUB, and then a wonderful cute asterisk. We're here to talk about Fiber Club, and we're especially here to let you know, listeners, that there's an upcoming group show that's going to be here at the library. I'm super excited about it. This is a library that regularly hosts art exhibitions. We're jazzed. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So thrilled to be here. Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, we were just talking to staff about the fiber arts. We have a lot of practitioners here on staff, and they are late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, whatever, what have you, elder Gen Z, millennial, and they are, they're really talking about how, and I guess this is what I'm jumping off of, they're really talking about how 80s, 90s, these were perceived as maybe stigmatized as like something our grandmothers did. But now we're getting into it and we're realizing, whoa, we really would have missed out on this. This is great. This is my long way of asking you guys how and when you got into pre-Fiber Club. We'll get to Fiber Club, but like tell us about your little Fiber Club stories and origins and journeys.
Jessica, want to start?
Okay. Gosh, when did I actually start? I mean, I think I started in home ec class in middle school.
Cool.
Way back when. I think that's when I first learned how to use a sewing machine. And when I was getting into, middle school, you get into what your style is and music and those types of things. So I started making clothing. And I think that's my origin story. And I took that to college. I went to FIT and I started studying more about textiles as an art and textile design. And and I feel like I have gone very far from those roots throughout my career. And that is sort of what led me to Fiber Club.
Don't be like chill and modest and go through, acronyms or whatever. That's the Fashion Institute of Technology. What is that? FIT?
That's
It
right.
is.
Oh, Jeff, I'm glad you said that. Exactly. Just
Which-
like one of the best.
Which
like,
is in New
schools,
York,
yeah.
I think.
In
It
this
is in New York. I left my humble roots of Pennsylvania and escaped to the big city for college and fell in love and grew up and explored and experienced and, found that there's so much more to do than just sew clothing. And really was for the first time surrounded by a community, I think, that loved the same types of exploration and art. And I found my people, I think.
Wonderful. And how about you, Jessica? Or Katie?
Katie.
Katie, sorry.
No,
You guys,
like, wait a second.
let me.
It's really interesting, Jeff, hearing you talk about your people you work with and about how, Fiber Club or Fiber Art rather has this, we think about it as this like dated and old thing. And I was like, you were saying that and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, wait, no, that wasn't my experience, because my introduction to fiber art was more through the lens of material exploration. I was a trained printmaker in undergrad. I went to U of M, moved out to New York City, got really itchy in the print shop. I was like, oh God, I just like want to work in 3D, and ended up going to grad school really with not much of a clue, except knowing I really wanted to take up space. And I had this amazing mentor who just started dropping materials in my studio. And, some were fibrous, some were very strange. And so I kind of like felt my way to fiber and textile. So I think my association is a little bit less grandma and a little bit more like, I don't know, loose and crazy and disordered and filling up nooks and crannies of my studio in Syracuse, New York. And we were talking for a minute about how we both knit the same way, Jeff, which is I also am a loom knitter. And it was like material exploration plus learning how to knit on a loom equaled like obsession, basically. So that's how I got to fiber.
Amazing. I loved how you described yourself in the print shop as feeling itchy, and you're like, I really need some wool in my life. Is maybe what you're actually the sensation was.
Totally.
That's amazing. But you said Syracuse?
Yes, I got my MFA from Syracuse University.
Wow, you guys have some great bona fides. This is amazing. How and when did y'all get back over here to Detroit? A, and then B, did you meet before Fiber Club? Take us on that narrative.
I landed in Detroit about 9 years ago with my husband and son by way of Los Angeles. And that was just more of a lifestyle change and affordability change. And
LA wasn't affordable? LA?
No, it wasn't. And it still has gotten worse, unbelievably. No, I did not know Katie until I discovered Fiber Club. So,
okay.
Bonus.
Okay, wonderful.
My story coming back to Michigan starts, the year was 2020, and I was I don't know,
anything interesting happened that year?
I just like something small.
Sure.
If I can even remember it, I was supposed to graduate with my MFA in the spring of 2020, and as we all know, a couple things started to go down, and I mean, I will never forget this date. It was March 13th, 2020, and I lost access to my studio, to the facilities at Syracuse University. Classes shut down. My thesis show was like, what's a thesis show? And, just like everything started to like go dark, as it did for all of us. And my now husband we met in grad school, and just like the two of us sitting in this house in Syracuse, New York. Also, maybe my theme of this episode, Jeff, is going to be itchiness, because again, I felt like I'm not from Syracuse. Stop. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I'm not from Syracuse originally, and my husband actually is from Wyoming. And we were sitting in our house in Syracuse, New York, actually sort of thinking about this road trip we took that ended in Detroit in 2019. I had always like thought a lot about Michigan because of my experience at U of M, and it's like really the place I fell in love with art and really became a creative person. And my husband's a ceramicist and went to Pewabic for the first time and was like, oh God, it would be cool to work here one day. So we're sitting in Syracuse, New York, being like, what is going on? And in typical sort of, I have come to see now Detroit fashion, I get connected to this person named Sarah Rose Sharp, who's an arts writer, a friend of a friend, who I'm told would tell me if it would be insane to relocate to Detroit in the middle of a pandemic. We Zoom 4 times. At the end of the 4th one, she says, oh, do you want to house sit? I have to go like see some family in California. Would you have any desire to come house sit for me? I look at my now husband. We're like, oh, what do we have to lose? And like land at Rosie's place in January of 2021. And about a year later, my husband started working for Pewabic, and a year and a half later, Fiber Club was born.
Yeah, in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. And can you tell us about that? Tell us about the first meeting. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think like ground setting, like the move in COVID is really important, right? Because I think, my experience of feeling a lot of loss is not a unique one. Everybody did in so many different ways, large and small, in the pandemic. And I think what just felt so acute to me was like, I lost my creative community, and I'd really gotten used to being surrounded by people I could think with and look at things with and dream with. And I was just feeling this like acute loss. And I am sort of naturally inclined to like try to meet and connect. And I was put in touch with the woman who was the head of Scarab Club, Marianne. She recently retired, but we were just chatting, and she was asking me about my fiber community in Detroit. And I was like, It's like, I can't really speak to that exactly right now, but like, I wonder if I could. And she said, well, if you ever have a community here, like, I bet we could find you some space to have a meeting. Again, so Detroit, right? Like someone being like, if you dream of it, like, I'll give you some space. And so I literally sent out this test balloon email to like 25, 30 people I knew making work with fiber and textiles, people I'd heard of, small, tiny little baby email list. And asked, like, I still have the email. I asked them like questions like, would you like to meet? Would you like to be part of a club? What would you like to do in this club? Like really silly little questions. And, through a bit of emailing back and forth, I sent the emails. I think it's important also to contextualize the timeline, because the point is like, you too can do this with a couple emails. And if you just show up, I sent the first, would you like to join a fiber club email in June? And we had our first meeting October 4th, 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
And like, fast forward to September 2023, and Fiber Club puts together this incredible show during Detroit Month of Design at the Convent in Detroit. And and I think you had like at least 50 artists.
Yeah.
And it was like a real show. It was amazing walking from room to room. And that's how I discovered Fiber Club. I showed up to check out the show. And I found a flyer for the next meeting at that space. And I showed up, and like, there were way more than 50 people in that room that night. Mm-hmm. And it was an incredibly open, like, fun crowd of people. I remember laughing. I remember like learning so much, and that I feel that feeling every time I go to a meeting. So
I'm going to interject, and Katie, maybe you can comment on this, but I believe the title of that group show is Mending the Net.
Yeah.
Which is very poetic and evocative. I could make conjectures, but I'd love to hear the story behind that, the idea of that title.
Gosh, it's like,
I mean, we needed mending.
no, truly, truly. I think it all started from this desire to spend one of our club meetings making things together. Fiber Club has a pretty typical cadence, which is sort of tried and true. And to Jessica's point, like, I will feel like zero. I will feel like, just that feeling at the end of the day where you're like, I could just sit here and watch Great British Bake Off and be fine. And, I have a full-time job. Like, it happens a lot where I'm just like, I can't take it. And inevitably, I feel like I'm floating at the end of these meetings. I mean, the people who come through, what they give, what they offer, the oohs and ahs that are gifted when people show work. It's like really, it's so special, and it's all about the people who come and come over and over again. And so usually what we do is there's a time for announcements, which is, if there's something that Fiber Club is offering, we spend some time talking about those opportunities. Then we always give people time to sort of shout out what they're doing, how the community can support them. And sort of our favorite segment of the episode is show and tell, which is we have artists show their work. So that's a typical format. So back to Mending the Net, I think people were feeling pretty itchy to like spend some time actually making things together. So we decided to take some time at a meeting to make pieces of a net using our own visual languages, and then bring them together to create something larger. And I think it was sort of like this double consciousness of like doing this thing together, but also it being sort of, we knew we were working towards a show and something that could sort of underscore the show. So I like how you talked about it as this like poetic thing, and it certainly was. But I think we also had eyes on it being this like emblem of what this group was, and sort of how to take that energy forward into a show that really sort of welcomed everyone's work, everyone's perspective. And again, the idea that like everyone brought these pieces and parts and they were sort of woven together through the showing effort was sort of like mirrored in this net that we made together.
Wow. And can you I might be getting tangential here, but can you guys comment on just the variety that's kind of covered under the canopy of Fiber Club? Because it certainly isn't just me knitting. And talk about looms. There's probably people with huge looms making blanket-sized things. Talk about the fiber arts, if that's an esoteric term for people, and what Fiber Club contains as far as all these talented artists.
Totally. I mean, Jessica, I feel like you could do a rundown based of what you've curated into this show. Like you've seen, you have
I would never say that we narrow anything down. For the show that's coming up, Material Motives at the library, we have hand felted works, we have hand woven pieces, we have knitted pieces, we have quilts, we have hand dyed silk, we have pieces with reclaimed fabrics and yarns. We have pieces of wood, carved wood. We have a really interesting piece that is attached to a light box. I mean, there's no small scope that we're looking towards, and that is not welcome to join the conversation.
When you talk about, Katie said, Jessica, you've done some curating. Can you speak more and I guess Jessica first, then Katie, to your roles, I guess, and what you do in Fiber Club, and if you have like chair titles, officer titles. What is the deal there? Tell us more about that.
Katie's the CEO and master. I have no role. I show up, I join. I think the community is one that is so open and inviting that if you have an idea, if you have a workshop, if you need support, like you just say the word and somebody stands up and raises their hand. And that's how I came about to this opportunity. I knew there was a great arts committee at the Ferndale Library because that's an important part of my own community. And I saw a great opportunity to, combine the two. And everybody showed up when I put the call out there. I mean, we have I think about 40 pieces in the show, but we had about 100 submissions. So people are itchy to show their work.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm not the only one making people itch. Great. Yeah, I think what feels really important to say about Fiber Club, and I think Jessica's sort of like proof positive, is like the mission is to make more opportunity, period. Something that I have been like startled and delighted by is artists in Detroit, like they want things. And by that, I mean, like they want to share their work. They want to connect. They want to practice in public. And I don't know if this sounds, I think the art world, quote unquote, is like one that is generally a world that is thought of to be like resource starved. And that can like really make, that can take a hit. You can take a hit as a creative person if you are thinking and waiting and wondering when it's going to be your turn. And I think part of what Fiber Club is trying to do is flip the script and work from a place of abundance. Like actually, if we come together, can we create more? Like actually is more versus more is less. And so Jessica, like in her trajectory in Fiber Club is sort of exactly the point, which is like she came to a show in 2023. She's like, I'm going to come to this. She kept coming. We had a show in 2024, another Month of Design show. And Jessica was like one of the people who was there most volunteering her time, like, welcoming people at the door. And then half a year later, she basically has more submissions to a show that she's generated than she knows what to do with. And like, that's sort of the point, is like together, 600 heads. And that's about how many people we have on our email list now are better than one. So I do a lot of sort of talking in meetings, and someone who's not here today, Meg Morley, like really keeps the show on the road. Like she's an artist, she's a basket maker, and had a life as a production manager. I mean, so talented, so organized, has really kept Fiber Club like running and growing and moving. So I would say like the two of us administer the network, but it's only as strong as sort of everyone who can understand that they have a place. They have a place and they have a voice, and like get in the pool because like you're invited to the party, and actually that's going to make the party better and more fun.
I think that there's something there about the Detroit artist community, or just artists who live here. They have a bit of an improvisational yes and energy.
Totally.
And I almost wonder if they have unconsciously or consciously discovered the secret of exactly how much more freeing it is to be in this artistic community compared to the big glamorous markets like LA and New York. You can almost have perhaps a exceedingly more enriched experience as an artist working with others rather than like competing for that one slot in that one fancy gallery in West Hollywood or whatever.
No,
could, like,
totally.
yeah.
I mean, and I like something that I also think is really unique to this place, being Detroit, Southeast Michigan, is okay, this is sort of like, this is the way I describe it. It's like, I came from Syracuse, New York is a pretty small town. There might be a couple things happening at night, but it's certainly not some place that you're going to think of as like vibrating with opportunities like you would say you'd find in New York and LA. Okay, but then in New York and LA, there are maybe like 10,000 things to do at once. Detroit is this really interesting place, big city, small town vibes. Let's call it, there are 20, 50 things to do at once, which is enough to keep some of the most interesting people here, but not enough to keep people away from continuing to show up. And Fiber Club exists because we have like built a foundation of a community, and we've been able to do it because people keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's my spiel about why Detroit's the best place on earth.
Oh, sure. But you guys have like, it's such a ripe territory for puns, because of course, where else are you going to build an artist community than the fiber arts, where this is inherent to, tying knots and patchworks and threading together and woven together, et cetera, et cetera. It's just,
nice.
Of course you guys would be all together. You guys would be so. Can I let's do a little bit of a Quentin Tarantino disjointed narrative and like bounce back and talk a little bit more about, take us back to Mending the Net, and Jessica, talk a little bit more about just that experience of discovering these people, and then Super Pals, about meeting each other and meeting Meg, and just like building this working relationship and friend relationship to an artist relationship, and what that was like for you guys.
Mending the Net.
Yeah.
First of all, the space was incredible, and I had no idea where I was going. And I love that feeling when I'm in Detroit, that I'm going to not just discover like something new, but a new place. And like, it may have walls that are crumbling, but it's going to be repurposed in such a like exciting way. And that was this experience. It was a convent. It was a beautiful space, and the rooms, and I could just weave through the rooms, I mean, if you will. And there was a uniqueness to the curation of the pieces because the convent was still intact fully, with sconces on the walls, and there was a little stage in one of the rooms, and some of them were larger, some of them were smaller. And so the way that the different types of fiber artworks were displayed was really striking to me. And I remember there was even a piece in like, there were several pieces in like the back, I don't know, what would you call it? It was like a closed in back porch area. And the show just kept going. It kept flowing out there. And it was amazing. And so I was really struck by that. I was struck by the collection itself of different types of fiber art. It wasn't just quilts. It wasn't just, one thing. And there was just an energy there too. I think I probably went on a Saturday afternoon, and there was just a lot of energy in each of those rooms. And I felt good. And that's what brought me back.
And meeting each other, was it that a magical moment?
Oh, it was a magical moment I'll never forget. It must have been at that first meeting.
Yeah.
And I'll age myself that I'm not, fresh out of school or anything like that. And many members of the community come from, graduate programs at Cranbrook, or, very prestigious programs around the Detroit area and further. But I immediately kind of connected to Katie and Meg's energy. And just that I knew that they had some experience behind like where they were coming from. And I wanted to learn more about that.
So I had a baby a year ago. And I like took a little maternity leave, which brought me, I'm from the DC area originally, and I went home for a couple weeks to get some baby help. And I would go on these walks with the little baby. And I remember getting these calls from Meg being like, oh my God, I just talked to Jessica. Oh my God, I just had a coffee with Jessica. Oh my God, she is so smart. She has so many ideas about like how we should think about Fiber Club and what we should. Oh my God. And to the point where I was like, to the
This
point
is
where I
the
was
love
like,
story of me and Meg. Where is she?
and me feeling like, what the hell? Like, I want to be like, I was so jazzed and also, I mean, jealous. I was like, wait, I want to be in those meetings. And then I have to say too, you know, as a new mom, like something that I have really been thinking about with Jessica, like she takes her son to like a lot of the things Fiber Club does. And I've been able to like project forward and be like, yeah, okay, that's how I want to be. So Jessica came into Fiber Club. I had a baby. I went away. She she stayed and contributed. And then seeing her sort of around was like so affirming, and like I could project forward too into
It's
like
interesting.
how I be. Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because I remember a meeting that we had after the second month of design show that Fiber Club did last September, Environment and Microclimates. And we had our meeting, I think the week after it opened, and you were talking about feedback that you were getting from people attending the show. And a lot of the feedback, positive feedback, was inclusivity, and that it wasn't, you know, it had a lot to do with age inclusivity, that any age could attend the show and enjoy it, and that a lot of people were bringing their kids and things like that. And I hadn't, that like hit a note with me because I had never really thought about it until then. That I like to include him in a lot of art experiences, and that is the kind of community that I think exists in Detroit. And I really love that as something I love about the city.
And another thing I'll just say quickly, Jeff, is like the way things in Fiber Club happen, right? It's like there are many different kinds of community members, but like a certain kind of community member that like makes things go are the people who are like, oh, I see this thing, like, come on. And like Jessica was so much like, okay, I see this. Guess what? Who's interested in this thing? So it's like people who come every week, we need people like that. But in order for Fiber Club to keep like growing and changing and challenging and becoming bigger and stronger and more inclusive, like the Jessicas are like gold because they see how it's done and are like, oh, come this way. Like, oh, I can like, come with me. Like, here's another thing. And so I think that's another, again, it's like it's a network. Like, it's funny that you said like positions. I'm like a nonprofit girly, so like I really wondered if there needed to be a board or a blah blah blah. And I think what is very clear to me is the beauty of this right now is its amorphous network qualities, and the fact that we can push in and take up different space. Like our use value is the people.
Yes.
It's not a place, because like we can go anywhere. It's like how a liquid can take the shape of whatever you pour it into. Like that's the beauty of Fiber Club right now. So I really thought for a while, like, do we need a board? Do there need to be chairs? We tested some stuff out. Like, it hasn't always been so clear and easy and straightforward. There have been tries and fails, but I think at the end of the day, I know we're being successful when someone in the community has stepped up and found an opportunity, has been able to like try something new themselves, like, administer a show, as Jessica's done, provide an opportunity for new people. And then like, what's so exciting too about the show at the library is there's going to be an opening. There's going to be a moment where the community gets to come back together. And I feel like that's sort of the crossing of the T. It's like everything we try to touch upon.
Yeah. April 24th. For folks listening at home, there'll be details in the show notes as well. It's fiberclubdetroit.org is the website, which we will also link to. And I'm not done asking questions, but I do want to ask and I'm just curious, and you can fill us in, but like, if anyone goes to your website, there are some beautiful photographs of some images and some works laid out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, is this like an actual brick and mortar space, or am I seeing some images from previous shows here? Just curious.
No, good question. You're seeing images from previous shows. Gotcha. I would say sort of like our most consistent space partner is Spread Art, which is on Rosa Parks. It's an experimental space for artists, musicians. That's where we meet once a month for our meetings, usually the second or third Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, you are welcome to a meeting.
Amazing.
Because everyone is welcome to a meeting, and you can come as much or as little as you want. We meet every month. But then in terms of the shows, in terms of our programming, like we are partnering with other places, other people around the city. And we've established some really interesting partnerships with nonprofits, with other galleries.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And these are the nuances between community versus technically collective. You guys aren't necessarily going for like some Warholian factory dream of being in a little clubhouse of fiber artists, but you are still as connected as a collective would be. It's a subtle difference.
Well, Jeff, also, if someone's listening to this and is like, you know what I have?
I have a factory.
I have a factory that could give about, 500 artists a little. Would we say no? No.
It's utopian.
But what I will say is our power is sort of in the community now. And that's where we're situated at the moment. But hey, never say never.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many amazing works. So these, and it just a testament to the dedication of artists everywhere in the community, independent artists who I'm assuming just like you guys probably have some amazing spaces in their living space, apartment, home, basement, wherever it is. And they are, I don't have a question here. They're just dedicated to the craft and you love to see it. That's all.
No, it's true. It's true. And I just think like there are people who have studio spaces. There are people who have shared studio spaces, and everyone, regardless of what they have, if they are making art, and it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in a week, and it might not even be through their work itself, but like there is a desire to be in the world with what you make.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, like that is, they're communicating something in the only way they know how, and like want to put what they've made out there as like an offering to their community, to friends, to people who don't know them. Like, people want to practice in public, period. They really do. And like, there are limited galleries, there are limited spaces, there are limited things that already exist. So again, like, Fiber Club is trying to create the space for new growth, basically.
Yes. And what a prevailingly, inherently encouraging vibe you guys have.
Oh, totally. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
it's a vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, Jessica, like, it cracks me up during show and tells. Like, someone will like hold up a quilt and everyone's like, ooh, it's like, people are so
And it's genuine. No.
genuine. Oh my God.
What's amazing is that it happens every time and it's genuine because somebody is showing such incredible work or detail or telling a story of their work or like holding some material up and welcoming ideas and collaboration. And it goes back to something you said earlier, Katie, about like, this community is about collaboration and it's about making space for everyone. It's not about I'm an incredible artist, make space for me and me alone. That is not the vibe. The vibe is all about coming together and praising and lifting each other up. And that's really unique.
Yeah, I think I mean, I work at an institution, in higher ed right now. And right, it's so funny to me because some of the professors who work at the institution I work at like come to Fiber Club and say like they feel so lit up by the quilter who's been doing this in her basement for 15 years.
Yeah.
Or the person who has sort of figured out how to do this thing that they do in their backyard. And because there's no distinguishing between like who's an artist and who isn't, people are sitting next to each other who in other contexts would never meet, and yet are like coming together and sharing knowledge and collaborating in really unexpected and exciting ways. We started this, you don't even have to make anything with fiber to come to Fiber Club. We have someone who sits and like whittles wood every meeting. And you could say like, oh, wood is fiber, but it doesn't even have to be.
Sure.
Like, the context is like, we want to share. That's it.
Amazing. And of course, again, the puns are all just there. Of course, the Fiber Club is going to come together. I remember finishing my first blanket and like nearly messing it up at the end because I realized that you can just pull a thread and it'll just all come undone. You guys have to be careful. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So just in general, what are you looking forward to about this show at the library, specifically or generally?
I mean, I've had a little more insight into the show, I think, than Katie has at this point, with what pieces are going to be in it. But the show is focused on the materials and how artists choose those materials. And this is going back to what was just said, is that, you know, it can be anything. It doesn't have to just be made of yarn or thread to be fiber art. And so I've had a lot of fun going through submissions and trying to create a show that features that highlights all of the different things that Fiber Club encompasses. So I hope that comes through. I hope that narrative is told.
Excellent. And while you guys are here, anything else you want to plug? I really can't resist because I know that you guys are also artists in your own right. Katie, I think you have an exhibition coming up April 4th through the 18th.
Oh, I do. I do have a show coming up.
At CYNK?
Yeah, in Ypsilanti. It's an artist space that's run co-run by someone actually who's in Fiber Club. Her name is Sally Clegg, an amazing artist who has worked really closely with me on what is gonna be in the space. I mean, the other plug is our next Fiber Club meeting is the 15th. It's tax day.
Okay.
So release whatever you need to release. And you can join us at Spread Art from 6 to 8. So please know, like, open invitation. Our next Fiber Club meeting is coming right up.
Great. Excellent. This people will be hearing all of this in time. This will be on it. This episode's going to drop on the day your show opens. So
Oh, how exciting.
we'll have time to.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's just say it again. Everyone is welcome. Wait a minute.
Always.
Everyone's welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's like what we really say if we want to. The first rule of Fiber Club is everyone talks about Fiber Club.
Yes.
That's our tagline.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, Katie Shulman, Jessica Peruk, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us, Jeff. We're so excited for this show at the library. It's going to be great.
I am super excited. And just the energy of a group show is always great. But this, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like...
Off the charts. It's going to be off the charts.
Well, the camaraderie vibes seem to be...
Yeah.
peak with you guys. So yeah. All right. So fiberclubdetroit.org, and I believe you guys are on the socials.
We sure are.
Where can they at you? What are they going to look for?
We are going to be at Fiber Club Detroit on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's a really good place to find us. And then if you get to our website, we have an amazing Substack that is edited and put together by the one and only Meg Morley. That's sort of our clearinghouse for opportunities and things to share. And we would just really encourage anyone out there to sign up. You'll get announcements and plugs and everything every month. So find our Substack, follow us, and I guess I would be remiss to say, get in touch with it. Like, we always want to collaborate, like always, always, always. So if like this conversation if you'd been like, you know what, I've always wanted to, email us, get in touch. Like, we're always down to do something new and try something new. So you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, especially if they have that same ineffable itch that we're all just talking about. It could just be, this is the answer. So
totally.
This is the answer to the itch.
Thank you both again so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Folks at home, you've listened to another episode of A Little Too Quiet. It is the Ferndale Library Podcast. It's brought to you by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. We thank that little group for making this podcast a reality. I think they'll be at the art show too. You can meet the friends. They'll be providing some refreshments. It's going to be great. And thanks to John Duffy for providing intro and outro music. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and tell your friends about a fun little podcast that's hosted inside of a library. Come April 24th to see the reception. More info in the show notes. We'll be back next week with more. Thanks for listening.